Well, good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, and welcome back to day 3 of the NWR Small Cap Investor Conference. On the call this morning or afternoon, we have VEEM Ltd. We've got the Managing Director from VEEM, Mark Milosevic. So VEEM is a designer and manufacturer of disruptive high-tech marine propulsion and stabilization systems for the global luxury motor yacht, fast ferry, commercial workboat and defence industries. VEEM invested about 9 years ago in Gyrostabilization technology. Since then, the company's become a major industry disruptor in vessel stabilization. The company's products significantly reduce the rolling motion of vessels in waves. It increases on-sea time and it improves personnel safety and efficiency in a whole different range of ocean conditions. So Mark has been involved in VEEM's management since 1982 when he and his brothers Brad and Gary took over operations from their parents who founded VEEM back in 1968. Mark has extensive experience in engineering and manufacturing. He's a fellow of the Institute of Engineers Australia and he has a Bachelor of Applied Science majoring in mechanical engineering. So before I hand over to Mark, any attendees who'd like to ask questions on the call today, just please submit them through the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen and we'll get to them after Mark's made his presentation. So with that, Mark, I'll hand the reins over to you.
Thank you, Tim, and welcome everybody to the VEEM presentation. Interesting, Tim commented about our overnight success with gyros being 9 years, which is all too common when you're developing products. Perhaps we should go back just a little bit back into the history of VEEM. We've always been operating in the high technology area of our industry. So whether it be through subsea work, aerospace work, defence work, or propulsion, that's always been in that high tech, and we tend to lead our industry in what we do. We developed propellers back starting in 1998. And we developed those and have advanced them to be the leading technology in the world now in fixed pitch propellers. So we have this, I guess we have this high precision mentality, but what it's given us is along the way, we've developed a 50-year strong company making good profits every year, providing us with a good steady cash flow to develop new products. And this is what we've been doing. And what we found with propellers is we felt that there really wasn't big enough legs with propellers to provide the growth and the turnover that we wanted as a company. So we started to look around, probably around 2008. So look around for some marine technology which could piggyback on our existing dealer network and our infrastructure to be able to take us to a much larger space. And we wanted to have a high barriers to entry. So we looked around and settled on Gyrostabilizer technology, which was being developed by a few naval architects in Perth. Uniquely, I might say, there was, looks like there's only one other node in the US that was thinking about this technology. And we felt that the market would be much larger and there'd be, if we moved into the large gyro space, there wouldn't be a great deal of competition either. So the barrier to entry is very high. What we did find is this technology which was abandoned in the 1920s but trialled on some passenger liners, and it's a very large gyroscope with a very large spinning flywheel which operates on the gyroscopic laws of physics according to Euler's laws of gyroscopes. And it actually is a box that sits in the vessel, a fairly large box, fairly heavy box, and it spins quietly like a dishwasher. And as a boat tries to roll, instead of the boat rolling, the gyro will precess as per the laws of physics, and it will provide a resistive torque so the boat won't roll. So you do see gyroscopes on instruments and aircraft. This is just an extremely large version. And we developed a large version of this to supply vessels from 70 tons to 3,000 tons. So that's a bit of the background. We've talked about our main key products, which is our propellers and our gyrostabilizers. They're both in the marine sector. We believe it's got a very significant growth for us, and it fulfills our desire to become a global manufacturer of our own products. But one of the key things we identified with gyrostabilizers is once we were talking to our customers, many of them were VEEM propeller customers. So we found that there's this ability to cross-sell, which we see as a significant sales tool that we can use. So we've looked at the market with gyrostabilizers, and when we did these initial studies, the oil and gas industry was still strong, but they were showing around $1 billion a year potential sales for VEEM. That was the size of the addressable market. So we also can see that in the super yacht market, for instance, right at this moment, if every super yacht being built was fitted with a VEEM gyrostabilizer, we would have sold $274 million worth. So we're talking about a market which can provide hundreds of millions of dollars of sales for us in the future every year. And that was what really attracted us to it. So what we found is, let's just look about our propulsion market. I think is probably the best one. If you look at propellers, we've taken them from being a hand-finished, hand-ground product, which was being done for hundreds of years, and we brought it into the modern world. So we fully computer control machine every square millimeter of the propeller, so it's within microns of the design that a naval architect creates. It is a bit like comparing having like many people did at high school, given a bar and being told to file it round with a hand file, and when you look at it, it's kind of round. And then you move on to using machinery, you give them a bar and you say, turn this to a certain diameter, and a lathe will make it perfectly round and perfectly to size. And that is the comparison we've got. So we've also developed a pitch adjustment feature, which you can see in a presentation, where we can actually change the effective pitch of a propeller underwater. Now, traditionally, they lift the boat out of the water to change the pitch, take the propellers away, bash them, effectively damage the profile, put them back on until they get the right amount of pitch on the propeller to meet the engine manufacturer's warranty requirements. We can do this just by jumping over the side of the boat and pulling out the orange strips and putting blue ones or black ones, whatever is required. So it's revolutionised boat building. And one of our key clients actually did a financial study on this and found that they spent £900,000 per year on props, but not having to lift their boats meant that they saved £1.2 million per year. So they got our product pretty much for nothing. So we've always shown how we're prepared to be quite innovative in what we do. So on gyrostabilizers is the same sort of principle. Very large. We're working towards 6 models. There's an extremely high barrier to entry, patented systems where we can, patented algorithm to control it, patented oil systems on it for lubrication. So we're working very hard to create as many barriers to entry as possible. And there is very few people in this space. In fact, there's only one other guy playing with it, and we can't yet categorize him as a real competitor, as he seems to be in all sorts of financial and legal trouble with whatever he's put out in the market. So the highlights so far with gyros is that last year we managed to triple our growth from the previous year, and we've also then this year walked into the start of this year with $4.1 million worth of new orders, and we've predicted that we'll sell this 6 months, we'll have sales around $3.8 million worth of gyro sales for this 6 months. We have got a very large gyro which we intend and are working very hard to finish by December 31. If that is completed on time, that'll take us up over 5 million for the 6 months. So following the trends we've seen around the world with the small gyrostabilizers, it is reasonable to think that we'll continue to double our sales every year. To be able to do this, though, we needed to be in the right position from a number of different aspects. Financially, we need to make sure we had our supply chain running correctly. We need to ensure our engineering work was all complete and correct. We needed to ensure our sales team were up and running and working with the right ultimate selling propositions. And we needed to have an assembly hall which could facilitate the future of what we were doing. So we moved from a jobbing assembly method to a production line assembly method. And to that end, we built a 4,000 square metre assembly hall. And you can see the Minister for Defence, the Honourable Senator Linda Reynolds, opening our facility there. That facility can produce up to around $100 million worth of gyros a year. And it has 3 test cells, 1 for each frame size of our gyros. And that's important to be able to move our business to the GP levels that we're looking for in the product. So we started to build all this, we spent a lot of time working with Damen over the last 3 years. We did a trial in the Netherlands on one of their vessels, a 50-metre vessel, which was tremendously successful. And on the strength of that, they ordered their first 1,000 gyro, which is currently being installed in a walk-to-work high-speed crew transfer vessel, which will be commissioned probably in the second quarter of next year. They did extensive testing in our facilities after we built this one to make sure they were happy with it. They provided a whole bunch of extra testing further to our normal factory acceptance testing. And they were so happy with the result that they immediately ordered a second gyro, which is for NWR Integral, and that is going on a vessel which is contracted to Shell. So Shell have been intimately involved in this, and I believe have provided some research and development funding for it as well. Now, NWR Integral have 15 of these Damen vessels. We also had inquiries from some of the other operators in the Gulf of Mexico looking for gyros as well. So this one for Shell, NWR, will be going into service in January. So we expect a rush of inquiries and orders following that point, because everyone's waiting to see if the claims and the tests that we've done are backed up on these vessels. So they're all very skeptical, of course, being a new technology. So you can see here the sales, and we've you can see the ramp up that we've gone to, and this is only showing the 3.8 million, but we believe it will end up, if we finish this gyro, it'll be up around 5. So we are seeing that rapid type of growth that one would expect with a new technology in the marketplace. So I think it's probably important to talk a bit about Damen Ships as a key client. We believe Damen Ships are the largest potential client in the world for us. They build nearly 200 vessels a year in our size range, and a good percentage of them, the majority of them, are absolutely suitable for gyrostabilizers. They are the largest small shipbuilder in the world. They are the second largest shipbuilder in Europe, the largest being Fincantieri in Italy, who have requested discussions with us before the end of the year. Unfortunately, COVID's mucking that around a bit, but they are also very interested in the technology, and we were looking forward to sort of talking to them about that. So with these boats, they're building, or they're earmarked for us first, these are their new FCS vessels, which are a groundbreaking hull form with a patented axe bow, and they're extremely efficient hulls. Now, what Damen are working toward is they're looking for the ultimate platform for these boats, the ultimate working platform. By having a super efficient hull, which is fuel efficient and very comfortable going into the weather, they can now, by adding a gyrostabilizer, create the world's most stable platforms as well. Now, that opens a whole bunch of operability for their customers, that they can operate many more days a year, and particularly in the oil and gas industry, they can start using fast crew vessels instead of using helicopters, which is a very dangerous and very expensive method they're using currently. So with the pressure the oil and gas industry are under at the moment, it's actually worked to our advantage with gyrostabilizers, because they're really keen to look at any new technology that can save them money going forward and make them more efficient. So we have also sold a third 1,000 stabilizer to a local customer who happens to has purchased a second-hand Damen vessel, and that's the one we're hoping to finish by Christmas. And we're also now planning, it would appear, based on what Damen have given us, that we need to double our build program on these big units starting January. So instead of producing 1 per quarter, we're looking at producing 2 per quarter, and they're retailing for approximately 1.6 million Australian dollars for every gyro. So it's extremely exciting times for us. So we worked as a natural progression when you're working with a large customer like this. You've got to do some work first on their hulls, and there is an element of experimentation and verification of your data. Then they move to purchasing for particular projects they've got, where they can do evaluation, and then they want to get in as quickly as they can to sign up a frame agreement to secure them as the key supplier. So Damen have been very astute. They want to ensure that they get every gyro that they need going forward. They get a priority delivery, We agree on what we will keep, what inventory we'll carry for them, and they'll also move towards carrying some of their own inventory. The fact that Damen's moved so quickly on this in terms of this frame agreement is quite telling. These first two big units haven't yet been commissioned, and yet they've signed a service agreement, a frame agreement, and that's extremely rare. It obviously is it's a level of confidence they've got, and of course we have dozens of these running around the world in the small and medium-sized models. So for us though, it locks us in with a customer that produces 20 of these boats a year, and in itself that's if they fit them to every vessel, it's over $30 million turnover straight away. So it's possible that Damen will grow to be a $50 to $100 million a year customer for VEEM. So we're extremely excited about that, and it's a tremendous celebration of these 8 or 9 years of really hard work and a lot of money that we've put into this, and hence this overnight success joke we make, that we've put an enormous amount of effort. We've got very talented people, and it's now is all doing exactly what we thought it would do. I don't think that, it's just not conceivable that people will be building boats in 10 years' time without gyros fitted standard. The operability of the vessel changes so dramatically, it's hard to fathom how anyone will build a boat without one. So what we've done with our range of vessels, we've looked at building from 72 to 3,000 tonnes. That includes all of your super yachts, which of course, this represents less than 2% of the value of a super yacht, so that it's really very small money for them. And super yachts are currently burdened with fins, and they have zero speed fins which will work at rest. But unfortunately, when you put it into gear, you've got no stabilisation until the boat picks up speed, usually 12, 13 knots. Then you have stabilisation. But when you get to about 19 knots, the size of the fins that they require for zero speed is a real impediment to speed. There's a lot of drag created by this. And the motion that they have at rest is very jerky, and it's a real compromise. For commercial boats really can't run any effective form of stabilisation at the moment, because they have to come alongside structures like platforms and wind farms. So they can't use fins. The traditional, what they call flume tanks, which is big tanks of water, are extremely difficult to coordinate. And if you get your coordination wrong, you can actually make the rolling of the vessel much, much worse. They tend not to be used. Even if they are on the vessel, they tend to leave them empty. On the patrol boats, they're using fins which are effective at speed, which is what our Australian Navy uses. But that means when you want to launch and recover an inflatable vessel, you have to be, if it's rough, you're doing 12 knots plus. It's extremely dangerous for launching and recovering. So they don't have any stabilisation for loitering and for going alongside other vessels. So, and for launching inflatables. So they've got a real operational issue. There's obviously ferries, of course, and it's not a very tasteful thing, but you can measure the success of a ferry service by the kilograms of vomit you've got to clean up. Now with gyrostabilizers, their main benefit is in the 2 to 8 second period, which is what makes people seasick, is that same roll period. So it has a dramatic impact on seasickness. And I won't say it eliminates it, but in the years we've been testing on our boat, even the people that normally get seasick never get seasick. So it is, it'll be a significant improvement. We have also got the opportunity, once we've developed this technology, we're coming from a higher technology position. We have to provide vessels for commercial use, so they're robust, they have to be serviceable on the vessel, they're a higher quality and a higher technology. But we can use this technology to produce smaller gyrostabilizers. So we have 3 options to look at the smaller side of the market, and we should be looking at it, and we are looking at it. And that is to continue to develop smaller models, which is slow but cheap for us. There's an opportunity to purchase a player in the small space, someone like Seakeeper in America, which would make us the Bunnings of stabilization. And there's an opportunity to pick up a company such as Mercury, someone like that, that has an enormous market network around the world of 3,000 odd dealers who can sell and service our units, and they are also boat builders, so you've got to naturally in a lot of their craft. So there's a small space there which gives us an even bigger future. So currently we consider ourselves the only legitimate player in the large gyro market, And in some areas there is no alternatives, such as Damen. They have actually no stabilisation option other than ours for their commercial vessels, to replacing an ageing technology in super yachts, a bit like horse and buggy, and going to automobiles, which is the gyrostabilizer. So we expect this technology to continue to be offered through Damen and through the globe. As I said previously, I can't understand why anyone would build a boat without a gyro even now. In the smaller market in the US, it's almost impossible to sell these smaller boats less than about 80 feet without a gyrostabilizer. 100% of the 40-foot Boston whalers have gyros, 50% of the 30-foot, and it's just growing. So, and their sales have been doubling every year. So we expect the super yacht market we've started off in the northern super yacht market, mostly in the Netherlands, where they have proven to be adopters of new technology early, and they're already using gyrostabilizers. So we have half a dozen of those companies, such as Royal Heisman, Fedship, Heeson, Van der Voort, Quash in France. They're all now using gyrostabilizers, and the Italians have just started buying them now as well, and the Italians will follow the lead of Northern Europe. The Italians don't have the engineering resources to evaluate in the same way as the northern markets, and they tend to follow a little later on. And you've got to remember, of course, that these are multi-million-dollar vessels, so it will be inherently a conservative market, and we all appreciate that. You can't afford to make a mistake on a multi-million-dollar vessel that you might have a great deal of difficulty of selling. So we expect that. On the defence side, we've supplied a fisheries patrol boat in the Middle East. We've also got tenders out for police boats in Asia, but we find that the defence market is the most conservative of all. Now, on patrol boats, for instance, we can provide a force multiplier. All their light weapons will be more accurate. They can launch and recover their vessels safely at all times. They can board vessels more safely. They can also, when they're patrolling and loitering, they can go out in heavy seas, which might be sea state 5, and it will feel like sea state 2 or 3. So all of their staff are available at all times. And these vessels tend to have extra crew on board to cater for loss of crew under heavy seas. So we think this is going to be a surefire winner for defence in the future. So what we've done is we're now cementing ourselves as the market leader on larger gyros. To that end, our target is 6 models on 3 frame sizes, which we believe will make it very difficult for people that enter the market to find a spot in the market for them. We're finding the market acceptance of gyros is now accelerating, and it has taken some years to explain to them. And all the questions that used to be, what is a gyro? What does it do? It's now about how much does it cost? When can I have one? So we see the market acceptance. That has definitely turned. We've now got our facilities in order so that we can produce a larger number of gyros very quickly and efficiently, which will improve our GPs and give us the margins we're looking for. And we'll also have, of course, our traditional business, which is the mining sector locally, defence work and propulsion will continue to underpin the profit of the business going forward. And it makes VEEM rather unique when people go into this new technology. Often they don't have the backing of a large company, so they're always going back to the market looking for money continuously until they get there. And it's not the case with VEEM. This is a new product we've bought for, we've paid for all the development, and our traditional business will continue to underpin what we do. And of course, we're in a fortunate position where mining sector is still strong. The defence market is getting stronger, so we'll play a role in that. We're currently Western Australia's largest defence contractor outside of the prime contractors, and we've been doing this work for 30 years now. So it's over $20 million a year worth of defence work that we're currently doing. So we're in a very good position to capitalise on the local market to underpin what we're doing. So the outlook for this, we expect to grow both organically for propellers and of course new product innovation, and we're now moving up the shaft line of propellers. We currently produce props, but that's attached to a shaft. It has a bracket, it has a coupling, has a prop nut, and we're moving down that chain, and we're doing research and development on developing a new smart drive attachment for propellers. So we'll see that market will continue to grow, and we still are by a long shot the industry leader, and we operate the most advanced manufacturing facilities in the world. In defence, we're just working through a $9 million submarine contract for a refit at the moment for submarines. Every year it's between $5 and $11 million of turnover in work for our submarines, and we expect it to grow with the new BAE frigates and of course the new submarines as well. And we're already in the supply chain discussions for that, and that will just flow on. And I think that'll continue to grow quite well, especially since the federal government have been so strong at coming out and saying they want to build a defence sector. And it's people like us, and there is very few people like us, that are already providing the quality they require in a very wide range of products. And of course, our engineering products and services, which is the cornerstone of the company, which was developed from 1968, is continuing to grow and at a modest rate and prosper in the local market. And again, it's very profitable. It incorporates our new Forever pipe, which is a very high wear pipe for the process industry for people such as Alcoa. And we're now starting to export some of that. And we're looking at export and license of our technology around the globe to help us continue to grow in that space. So there's quite a solid future for us going forward with this huge growth prospect with Gyrostabilizers. And we're at that point of inflection now where we've got all our ducks in a row, so to speak, and we're now starting to see the sales starting to really climb. And now we have to forecast just how much we have to produce to keep abreast of our inquiries. So it's looking extremely exciting, and it's fantastic to see us get to this point where we can see it all happening after all these years of hard work. So just some information on our shareholding and our share performance. We're seeing very positive reviews from people covering the stock that they also recognise we're at an inflection point and have been re-rating us. And it's very exciting to see all of this coming together now as we'd hoped it would. So, and that's the end of the presentation. I'm happy to field any questions that you might have.
Thanks very much, Mark, for your presentation. Very exciting stuff. I'll jump straight into the questions that have come in. The question is, what sort of margins do you generate from the gyros and gyros, I should say, sorry, and with the increased revenue that you're seeing from them of late, do you expect greater revenue growth to continue from FY21?
In terms of our turnover, we expect that to continue to grow and perhaps double every year. In terms of margins, we'll see this year the traditional business will provide all the profits as we ramp up in our production facility. So we've got a number of people that have been trained and getting production running, but our margins generally at the moment are running, different models have different GPs, but on average we'd say we're somewhere in the lower 30s in our GPs. But some of the models are already up around 40, and we expect most of the models to move into the 40% GPs, which is necessary for the investment we've made and to cover the cost of the business. So we're seeing that continually rise. So some of the models are already there. Some of the models we're still working on our supply chain and our build techniques to bring us up that point. But I'm very happy with how we're progressing with that.
Thanks, Mark. How easy is the retrofit into an FCS, and is this a big opportunity? And further to this, can you expand into other vessels across the Damen range with retrofitting?
Yeah, we not only expand across the Damen range of retrofitting, but obviously in new build as well, which is exciting. The beauty of Gyrostabilizers is they plug and play. So bolt them down, plug in the power, plug in the water, press the button. So what we've found is they only use a modest amount of power. It's really up to finding the space in the vessel. The one we're fitting in Perth in December has been retrofitted to a second-hand vessel, and they're putting it through a soft patch down in the engine room. So there is always space requirements, but really a simple matter of strengthening beams up to take the gyro loads. It can be fitted anywhere in the vessel. There's no fixed point it has to be in. And we've retrofitted it to our test vessel. It's relatively straightforward. So we see the retrofit market as being potentially very large. The addressable market, when we did our studies, was $8 billion. So we expect that we'll see a good portion of our work going into retrofits, and we already are, which is very encouraging. Thanks, Mark. Just pulling together a couple of questions around the financial dynamics. Are you able to talk about I guess the extent to which your operating costs are a factor? The variable. How much of your operating costs are variable versus the fixed component? And so the adjunct to that is, can you scale to meet demands, and how much capital will you need to achieve that scale? Right. Okay. the fixed component of our business, because we've gone into the larger gyros, the cost of operating our business has changed very little. If we sold 200 gyros a year, it's 200 invoices. It's nothing. The variable costs, they vary on the assembly side. We assemble and test. We manufacture some critical components. That's not a huge impost for us. What we established was a global supply chain, very similar to what Volvo Penta, Kongsberg, which was the old Rolls-Royce Marine, Wärtsilä, they all use the same technique. So we're not geniuses here. We've established a global supply chain so we can be at or around world's best pricing. But most importantly, we can ramp up very quickly without using capital, and we can scale down when we need to meet the market without having to carry capital. So it was done very carefully to do that, so that we could not have to have huge capital requirements for our business, which made it a lot easier for us. But also it gave us a natural hedge. And as all of you will know, the Australian dollar tends to be very, very volatile. So having a natural hedge helps our business case. So I think going forward, we're in a very strong position cash-wise at the moment, and we don't believe we'll need any cash in the foreseeable future. So we'll pay for it out of retained earnings and the cash and the financial arrangements we have with our bank at the moment. But we're always open to, and this is why we became a public company, is it gives us the ability to deal with all of the market opportunities that come up for our company, and we are very close to the market to be able to take advantage of those opportunities as they come up. And that's why we moved to being a public company.
Thanks very much, Mark. We are out of time, so I'll have to take further questions offline. Thanks very much, everyone, for your attendance. Mark, I might just pass back to you for any closing comments.
I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. It is a very exciting time for us, and I'm proud as punch to be able to share that with you. It's a very long journey, and everyone at VEEM's worked very hard and continues to do so. So if you think the story is a great story, come and join us. Come along for the ride. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you next time.